Business Secretary Jonathan Reynolds has broken Labour's silence following the dramatic US bombing of Iranian nuclear sites, and his message was crystal clear. The UK is prepared for all possible outcomes. Appearing on GB News, Reynolds acknowledged the unease many Brits are feeling this morning in the wake of President Trump's announcement that the US had launched a very successful attack on 3 major Iranian nuclear facilities: Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. A lot of people will be getting up, having their breakfast and wondering, what does this mean? Reynolds said, attempting to calm public nerves amid fears of wider conflict. While confirming that Britain's armed forces had not taken part in the strikes, Reynolds was adamant that contingency plans are well underway. We have been preparing for some time for all eventualities, he stressed. A not-so-subtle nod to the possibility of regional escalation spiralling into direct UK involvement. Reynolds also confirmed that evacuation operations for British citizens in the region are being actively planned. That includes making sure we can get British nationals out of the region, whether they are in Israel, the Palestinian territories, or Iran, though the latter is unlikely. His comments follow a chilling warning from Iran that any Western strikes would provoke all-out war. We'll be watching the full interview, but before we do, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us for more breaking updates. Have a watch.
Mr. Reynolds, I don't want to be prone to hyperbole or hysteria, but I think a lot of people this morning in Britain will be very, very worried. They will be asking themselves, is this World War III?
No, I think you're right. I think you're right to say a lot of people will be getting up now, having their breakfast, and they'll be looking at this and thinking, what does this mean? And they'll be worried, there'll be doubt around that. There's 2 things I would say really to reassure them. The first is that although the United Kingdom's armed forces have not been involved in this activity, we have been preparing for some time for all eventualities. And that includes in particular making sure we can get British nationals out of the region, whether they're in Israel, whether they're in the Palestinian territories, whether they're in Iran, although frankly that is unlikely. And we are, first of all, with the teams we have deployed on the Jordanian and Egyptian borders, if people are travelling by land, facilitating the exit of British nationals. And we're also in talks to charter aircraft when we're able to do so to get people out of Israel. The second thing I would say is this point around the fact that Iran is a threat to the UK, is engaged in activities that are unacceptable, and whilst we're not involved in this particular set of military action, it is important to know that this is important to the UK in terms of preventing that regime possessing a nuclear capability, which frankly no one is denying or disputing. The Iranians themselves, there is no reasonable correlation between the enrichment of this level of uranium and any kind of civil or peaceful means for it.
Do you think we might have to reassess the threat level?
That is always kept under considerable review, but at the same time, you will understand why I won't go into undue details on it. But, this is an active issue. The Iranian regime threat to the UK and activity in the UK is an active issue for our security services, something they are dealing with regularly, not something that would come about just from this added level of conflict in the region. It is something we unfortunately have to deal with on a weekly basis.
What do you make of Reynolds' comments? Let me know your thoughts down below. In other news, Reform UK has surged to its highest ever rating as a new poll has handed Nigel Farage's Populist Party a significant lead over Labour. In an Ipsos poll released on Saturday, the Reform leader landed a 9-point lead over Sir Keir Starmer, with Labour voting intention sinking to its lowest share since October 2019. The poll, which interviewed 1,180 British adults between May 30th to June 4th, shows Reform UK on a 34% vote share. It marks the highest result Ipsos has ever recorded for Reform, and places Farage 9 points ahead of the Labour Party. Labour came in second place with 25%, the lowest share Ipsos has recorded for Labour since October 2019. The Conservatives received just 15%, the lowest share Ipsos has ever recorded. Ed Davey's Liberal Democrats landed on 11%, the Greens at 9%, and others at 6%. Responding to the results, Nigel Farage wrote on X, Reform UK achieves its highest ever opinion poll rating with 34%. The British people now really believe that we can win the next election. Reform's new head of Doge, Zaya Yusuf, added, "Reform reaches a new record high in any poll, 34% with Ipsos. Enough for a big majority. Real change is coming to Britain. A seat map projection via electoral calculus using the data would hand Farage the keys to number 10, win in excess of 400 seats, and give the party a majority of almost 200. By the same measure, the Tory party would be reduced to just 6 seats. However, it should be noted, national polling is challenging to translate into accurate seat numbers. Elsewhere in the Ipsos data, it has been revealed Reform UK is currently holding on to nearly all of their 2024 voters, 95%. Both Conservatives and Labour are only retaining about half of their 2024 voters at 48% and 54% respectively. Reasons behind Reform's lead are made more clear by the data showing 1 in 3 Conservative voters, 37%, have since switched to Reform UK since the last election. Labour, meanwhile, is also hemorrhaging support to both Reform UK, 12% of their 2024 vote, the Liberal Democrats and Greens, 8% and 5% respectively. The Ipsos polling additionally gathered information on satisfaction among voters with leaders and the government. A shocking 2/3 of Labour voters said they were satisfied with the government. Nigel Farage was found to have the highest level of satisfaction among main party leaders, 34%, though still negative net satisfaction overall, -15, with 49% dissatisfied. However, this appeared a far cry from the net -54 and -49 seen with Starmer and Tory leader Kemi Badenoch. Just 3 in 10, 29%, Conservative voters said they were satisfied with Badenoch. Commenting on the latest poll, Senior Director of UK Politics at Ipsos, Gideon Skinner, said, "The last year has indeed been a long time in politics, with our first voting intention since the election showing just how much the political landscape has transformed since then. Reform UK has continued to build on its success, helped by high levels of enthusiasm among its own support and among working class voters in particular, and taking votes from both Labour and especially the Conservatives, who show little sign of recovery. The disappointment with Labour is clear, even among those who voted for the party in 2024. We know from Ipsos research how difficult it has been to shift entrenched public pessimism over the cost of living, immigration, and the state of public services. And so far, Britons do not think Labour is delivering the tangible change they were hoping for in 2024. This is reflected in satisfaction ratings for the government and Prime Minister that, while not quite the worst Ipsos has ever seen, are well below the average we usually see coming up to a 1-year anniversary. What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comments section below. If you've not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you, take care, goodbye.